Welcome to Heavy D Storytelling. I'm Heavy D and I'm going to tell you a story. But first up, we're going to read the Bible, and then we're going to do the synopsis, and then we're going to read Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. So, Paul Bunyan, yeah.
No,
King of the wild frontier. All right, so obviously I grew up in America. Okay, so
Jonathan.
okay, we're gonna stop throwing things. We're going to open our Bibles. We're on Exodus chapter 29, and we're reading from the English Standard Version today, as all days, mostly. And let's go ahead and begin. Now this is what you shall do to them to consecrate them. He's talking about the priests, Aaron and his sons, that they may serve me as priests. Take 1 bull of the herd and 2 rams without blemish, and unleavened bread, unleavened cakes mixed with oil, and unleavened wafers smeared with oil. You shall make them of fine wheat flour. You shall put them in 1 basket and bring them in the basket. And bring the bull and the 2 rams. You shall bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and wash them with water. Then you shall take the garments, and put on Aaron the coat and the robe of the ephod and the breastpiece, and gird him with the skillfully woven band of the ephod. And you shall set the turban on his head, and put the holy crown on the turban. You shall take the anointing oil, and pour it on his head, and anoint him. Then you shall bring his sons, and put coats on them, and you shall gird Aaron and his sons with sashes, and bind caps on them, and the priesthood shall be theirs by a statute forever. Thus you shall ordain Aaron and his sons. Then you shall bring the bull before the tent of meeting. Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the bull. Then you shall kill the bull before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and shall take part of the blood of the bull, and put it on the horns of the altar with your finger, and the rest of the blood you shall pour out at the base of the altar. And you shall take all the fat that covers the entrails, and the long lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them, and burn them on the altar. But the flesh of the bull and its skin and its dung you shall burn with fire outside the camp. It is a sin offering. Then you shall take 1 of the rams, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and you shall kill the ram, and shall take its blood, and throw it against the sides of the altar. Then you shall cut the ram into pieces, and wash its entrails and its legs, and put them with its pieces and its head, and burn the whole ram on the altar. It is a burnt offering to the Lord. It is a pleasing aroma, a food offering to the Lord. You shall take the other ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and you shall kill the ram, and take part of its blood, and put it on the tip of the right ear of Aaron, and on the tips of the right ears of his sons, and on the thumbs of their right hands, and on the great toes of their right feet, and throw the rest of the blood against the sides of the altar. Then you shall take part of the blood that is on the altar and of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it on Aaron and his garments, and on his sons and his sons' garments with him. He and his garments shall be holy, and his sons' garments with them. You shall also take the fat from the ram, and the fat that covers the entrails, and the long lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them, and the right thigh, for it is a ram of ordination, and 1 loaf of bread, and 1 cake of bread made with oil, and 1 wafer out of the basket of unleavened bread that is before the Lord. You shall put all these on the palms of Aaron and on the palms of his sons, and wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. Then you shall take them from their hands, and burn them on the altar on top of the burnt offering, as a pleasing aroma before the Lord. It is a food offering to the Lord. You shall take the breast of the ram of Aaron's ordination, and wave it for a wave offering before the Lord, and it shall be your portion. And you shall consecrate the breast of the wave offering that is waved, and the thigh of the priest's portion that is contributed from the ram of ordination, from what was Aaron's and his sons. It shall be for Aaron and his sons as a perpetual due from the people of Israel, for it is a contribution. It shall be a contribution from the people of Israel, from the peace offering, their contribution to the Lord. The holy garments of Aaron shall be for his sons after him. They shall be anointed in them and ordained in them. The son who succeeds him as priest, who comes into the tent of meeting to minister in the holy place, shall wear them 7 days. You shall take the ram of ordination and boil its flesh in the holy place. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram and the bread that is in the basket in the entrance of the tent of meeting. They shall eat those things with which atonement was made at their ordination and consecration, but an outsider shall not eat of them, because they are holy. And if any of the flesh for the ordination or of the bread remain until the morning, then you shall burn the remainder with fire. It shall not be eaten, because it is holy. Thus you shall do to Aaron and to his sons, according to all that I have commanded you. Those 7 days shall you ordain them, and every day you shall offer a bull as a sin offering for atonement. Also you shall purify the altar when you make atonement for it, and shall anoint it to consecrate it. 7 days you shall make atonement for the altar and consecrate it, and the altar shall be most holy. Whatever touches the altar shall become holy. Now this is what you shall offer on the altar: 2 lambs a year, old day by day. 2 lambs a year old, day by day, regularly. 1 lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at twilight. And with the first lamb 1/10 measure of fine flour mingled with the 1/4 of a hin of beaten oil, and 1/4 of a hin of wine for a drink offering. The other lamb you shall offer at twilight, and shall offer with it a grain offering and its drink offering, as in the morning, for a pleasing aroma, a food offering to the Lord. It shall be a regular burnt offering throughout your generations at the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord, where I will meet with you to speak to you there. There I will meet with the people of Israel, and it shall be sanctified by my glory. I will consecrate the tent of meeting and the altar. Aaron also and his sons I will consecrate to serve me as priests. I will dwell among the people of Israel and will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I might dwell among them. I am the Lord their God. That is the end of chapter 29. A long one, and a little bit like it's a little out of our context for today, but merits further study. So we're on chapter 28 of Pilgrim's Progress. We just finished chapter 27, where Moneylove really showed Christian and just told him how it is. He basically said, hey, listen, I'm not sure why the boys are invisible now. They must have taken some kind of a potion of invisibility. So basically what Moneylove said was that that you can't deny yourself. That's very important. You have to win all the time, and you need to be able to have money in order to do the things that you want to do, of course. And Christian didn't really have any answers to any of that. So, okay, here's Kimberly to say how it really happened.
So Dad's kind of right with what Moneylove said, except he was more like, so, if a priest makes a bunch of money and in doing so changes his morals and, does something bad, but he helps a lot of people in the end, then it's perfectly fine. It's okay. Meanwhile, Christian's like, you know what? That's actually wrong. 'Cause I don't know exactly what he said, but it was spectacularly written. And Moneylove was honestly just like, you know what? I like luxury. I like these luxuries. I'm not just gonna sit out on the road in these tents. I'm gonna live here. I'm gonna go over and do the pilgrimage some other time, and then I'll eventually make it to Mount Zion. And everybody knows that they will, of course, if they say, "Yeah, I'm a Christian now." That's basically what he was like. And I'm going to hand it off to Dad, who's going to read us a story. I'm sorry if my synopsis wasn't the best today.
That's fine.
Maybe you could watch the other episode.
All right, so that was chapter 27, but now we're on chapter 28. And this is Hill, Lucre, and Demas. I don't know who these people are, so let's find out. Then Christian and Hopeful outwent them again, and went till they came at a delicate plain called Ease, where they went with much content, but that plain was but narrow, so they were quickly got over it. Now at the farther side of that plain was a little hill called Lucre, and in the hill a silver mine, which some of them that had formerly gone that way, because of the rarity of it, had turned aside to see, but going too near the brim of the pit, the ground being deceitful under them, broke, and they were slain. Some also had been maimed there, and could not, to their dying day, be their own men again. Then I saw in my dream that a little off the road, over against the silver mine, stood Demas, gentlemanlike, to call passengers to come and see, who said to Christian and his fellow, "Ho, turn aside hither, and I will show you a thing." Christian, what thing so deserving as to turn us out of the way to see it? Demas, here is a silver mine, and some digging in it for treasure. If you will come, with a little pains you may richly provide for yourselves. Hopeful. Then, said Hopeful, let us go see. Christian, not I, said Christian. I have heard of this place before now, and how many there have been slain. And besides, that treasure is a snare to those that seek it, for it hindereth them in their pilgrimage. Then Christian called to Demas, saying, Is not the place dangerous? Hath it not hindered many in their pilgrimage? Demas, not very dangerous, except to those that are careless, but withal he blushed as he spake. Christian. Then said Christian to Hopeful, Let us not stir a step, but still keep on our way. Hopeful, I will warrant you, when by-ends comes up, if he hath the same invitation as we, he will turn in thither to see. Christian, no doubt thereof, for his principles lead him that way, and 100 to 1, but he dies there. Demas. Then Demas called again, saying, But will you not come over and see? Christian. Then Christian roundly answered, saying, Demas, thou art an enemy to the right ways of the Lord of this way, and hast been already condemned for thine own turning aside by one of his majesty's judges. And why seekest thou to bring us into the like condemnation? Besides, if we at all turn aside, our lord the king will certainly hear thereof, and will there put us to shame, where we would stand with boldness before him. Demas cried again that he also was one of the fraternity, and that if they would tarry a little, he also himself would walk with them. Christian. Then said Christian, What is thy name? Is it not the same of which I have called thee? Demas. Yes, my name is Demas. I am the son of Abraham. Christian. I know you. Gehazi was your great-grandfather, and Judas your father, and you have trod in the steps. It is but a devilish prank that thou usest. Thy father was hanged for a traitor, and thou deservest no better reward. Assure thyself that when we come to the king, we will tell him of this thy behavior. Thus they went their way. By this time Bunyan and his companions were come again within sight, and they at the first beck went over to Demas. Now whether they fell into the pit by looking over the brink thereof, or whether they went down to dig, or whether they were smothered in the bottom by the damps that commonly arise, of these things I am not certain, but this I observed, that they were never seen again in the way. Then sang Christian, Bunyan and Silver Demas both agree. One calls, the other runs, that he may be a sharer in his lucre. So these two take up in this world and no farther go. Now I saw that just on the other side of this plain the pilgrims came to a place where stood an old monument, hard by the highway side, at the sight of which they were both concerned, because of the strangeness of the form thereof. For it seemed to them as if it had been a woman transformed into the shape of a pillar. Here, therefore, they stood looking and looking upon it, but could not for a time tell what they should make thereof. At last hopeful espied, written above upon the head thereof, a writing in an unusual hand, but he, being no scholar, called to Christian, for he was learned, to see if he could pick out the meaning. So he came, and after a little laying of letters together, he found the same to be this, Remember Lot's wife. So he read it to his fellow, after which they both concluded that that was the pillar of salt into which Lot's wife had turned, for her looking back was with a covetous heart when she was going from Sodom for safety, which sudden and amazing sight gave them occasion for this discourse. Christian. Ah, my brother, this is a seasonable sight. It came opportunely to us after the invitation which Demas gave us to come over to view the hill Lucre. And had we gone over as he desired us, and as thou wast inclined to do, my brother, we had, for aught I know, been made, like this woman, a spectacle for those that shall come after to behold. Hopeful. I am sorry that I was so foolish, and am made to wonder that I am not now as Lot's wife. For wherein was the difference betwixt her sin and mine? She only looked back, and I had a desire to go see. Let grace be adored, and let me be ashamed that ever such a thing should be in mine heart. Christian. Let us take notice of what we see here, for our help from time to come. This woman escaped one judgment, for she fell not by the destruction of Sodom, yet she was destroyed by another, as we see. She is turned into a pillar of salt. Hopeful. True, and she may be to us both caution and example. Caution that we should shun her sin, or a sign of what judgment will overtake such as shall not be prevented by this caution. So Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, with the 250 men that perished in their sin, did also become a sign or an example to others to beware. But above all, I muse at one thing, to wit, how Demas and his fellows can stand so confidently yonder to look for that treasure, which this woman, but for looking behind her after. For we read not that she stepped 1 foot out of the way, she turned into a pillar of salt, especially since the judgment which overtook her did make her an example within sight of where they are. For they cannot choose but see her, but they did but lift up their eyes. Christian. It is a thing to be wondered at, and it argueth that their hearts are grown desperate in the case, and I cannot tell who to compare them to so fitly as to them that pickpockets in the presence of the judge, or that will cut purses under the gallows. It is said of the men of Sodom that they were sinners exceedingly, because they were sinners before the Lord. That is, in his eyesight, and notwithstanding the kindness that he has shown them, for the land of Sodom was now like the Garden of Eden as heretofore. This therefore provoked him the more to jealousy, and made their plague as hot as the fire of the Lord out of heaven could make it. And it is most rationally to be concluded that such, even such as these are, that shall sin in the sight, yea, and that too is in desperate of such examples that are set continually before them to caution them to the contrary, must be partakers of severest judgment. Hopeful. Doubtless thou hast said the truth, but what a mercy it is that neither thou, but especially I, am not made myself this example. This ministereth occasion to us to thank God, to fear before him, and always to remember Lot's wife. I saw when that they were on their way to a pleasant river, which David the king called the river of God, but John the river of the water of life. Now their way lay just upon the bank of this river. Here, therefore, Christian and his companion walked with great delight. They drank also of the water of the river, which was pleasant and enlivening to their weary spirits. Besides, on the banks of this river, on either side, were gotten trees with all manner of fruits, and the leaves they ate to prevent surfeits and other diseases that are incident to those that heat their blood by travel. On either side of the river was also a meadow, curiously beautified with lilies, and it was green all the year long. In this meadow they lay down and slept, for here they might lie down safely. When they awoke, they gathered again in the fruit of the trees, and drank again of the water of the river, and then lay down again to sleep. Thus they did several days and nights. Then they sang, Behold ye how these crystal streams do glide, to comfort pilgrims by the highway side. The meadows green, besides their fragrant smell, yield dainties for them, and he that can tell what pleasant fruit, yea, leaves these trees do yield, will soon sell all that he may buy this field. So when they were disposed to go on, for they were not as yet at their journey's end, they ate and drank and departed. And that is the end of chapter 28. So next time is chapter 29, hopefully tomorrow. Bypath Meadow, Giant Despair, Doubting Castle. So we'll read that one next time, chapter 29. And I hope, as always, that you're enjoying the story, Pilgrim's Progress by John, not Paul, Bunyan. And God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.